Hello everybody, and welcome to Susie B Living's Moonphase gardening series, where I'm going to take you through the next week of all the moon phases that are coming up and the categories and what I plan to do this coming week. So you can follow along with me if you want to, or just get ideas, or maybe even just do one thing. There's a lot to be doing in the garden, even though it's the end of October. So it's Sunday, the 29th of October, and I will take you through the next week, which is Monday, the 30th of October, 2023, all the way through to Sunday, the 5th of November, 2023. There's still quite a lot to be getting on with in the garden, in my world of gardening. So let me start. So Monday, the 30th of October, 2023, and please excuse me if I look down because that's where I've got my list of all my jobs, is Roots Day. And Roots Day is anything to do with a root that grows under the ground. So I am going to be sowing some carrots, and I am going to be sowing them in big tubs that I will then put in the greenhouse to overwinter. And those carrots should be ready, I would think, about April. They're not going to be huge. They're just going to be nice, small carrots. So the variety that I like to sow this time of year is a variety called Napoli. It's an F1, and I find that it does really well in the cold weather. So that is what I am going to be doing, sowing carrots. The other thing that you can also be getting on with, if you haven't actually done it already, is continue to sow your garlic. So I have most of my garlic sown. I've got a few more elephant garlics to sow that I've just actually received. I didn't have enough of my own. I usually sow my own garlic. If I don't sow my own garlic, then the varieties that I like are Provence white, purple early white, that's the other one, and Mersey white. They're the three that I particularly like. And so I will be putting the rest of those into my beds here in the kitchen garden, and all the little cloves that are left, I also sow, and I put them in pots and I sow them in the greenhouse. So I will be doing those. So anything that's left that's really, really small, rather than bring them inside and use them, I sow them in the greenhouse, and then I will actually get green garlic. And if you don't know what green garlic is, it is the garlic that you get that is immature. It's a bit like a kind of huge spring onion or salad onion. So that's my sowing on Roots Day, Monday, the 30th of October. For transplanting, I have some Japanese onions that I started from seed, and I want to put them in the garden, and they are called Shenshyu. This time of year, if you want to grow onions, it's a little bit late now to sow the seeds, but you can actually sow some sets if you want to. I'm not a big brown onion set sower, if that makes sense. I am going to be sowing some red onion sets, but I'll come to that in a minute. I'm not going to do that tomorrow. Weeding and maintenance, I will have a look at my leeks again. I just keep an eye on my leeks because I don't want them to get allium leaf miner. They're looking not too bad at the moment, and I'm wondering if it's because I've got them growing amongst coriander. So coriander might actually be a deterrent to allium leaf miner, but I mean, who knows? So I will be weeding that bed. The other thing that I will be doing is for my feeding and watering. The last Roots Day, I fed my ginger and my turmeric, and that's it. I'm not doing any more feeding of those because they're nearly finished. They're nearly over for the year, and I will be harvesting them. So I will be just keep an eye on them because they are in the greenhouse, and just keep an eye on them for watering. And harvest the rest of my beetroot that is going to go into store. I didn't harvest all of my beetroot last time because I thought to myself, maybe I'll leave some in the ground, some of the smaller ones in the ground. But I think actually I will pick all of them, and they are going to go into the store. So that is Monday, the 30th of October. If you want to have a look and see what I actually do in the week, I have little videos in the week that I do, which is called the Gardening Week. And then other times I just put the title of the video, and that shows you what I'm actually doing. This is a look ahead. So you're welcome to go back and have a look at those. Okay, so Tuesday, 31st of October is Fruits Day. And fruits that I am sowing is my broad beans. So the broad beans can be sown direct now. If you've got ground that you want to fill up, you can sow them direct. I've already sown some in modules and they're going to go in pots in my greenhouse. I want a really early crop of those. You can do those still if you want to. What you'll find though is they do grow very, very tall, so you're going to have to stake them. But you do get an early crop. You kind of get it beginning of April time, I would say, March, April time. So yes, all of my broad beans will be sown in the ground, and that is on Fruits Day on Tuesday. I sow Aqua Dulce Claudia. That is the variety that I particularly like. My transplanting, I've got nothing to transplant in fruits. My weeding and maintenance, I'm still on to the chilies. So they're coming, they're ripening slowly. So as they ripen, I bring them in. If you are interested in having a look at the chilies that I'm growing, head over to my Instagram account, because I'm doing an A to Z of all the chilies that I'm growing over there, and you'll be able to see. And watering and feeding, no feeding, but again, because my chilies are in the greenhouse, I'm just keeping an eye on watering them when they get dry. Onwards and upwards. So Wednesday, the 1st of November, is Roots Day. Okay, so this is the day that I am going to sow my red onion sets. And I'm going to sow them all in little modules. And then once they're pretty established with their green stems, I will then plant them out. The only reason I am sowing these red onion sets is because I didn't get a great deal of red onions this year. In the garden in the summer, and that's because I got allium leaf miner. So that's why I'm kind of supplementing with these red onion sets. I don't usually sow red onion sets because they have a tendency to bolt, but if you want to try some and cross your fingers, you might actually get some nice, even if they're small onions and they start to bolt, they're still edible. So I will be doing those. I might also do another trough of the Napoli carrots as well to go in the greenhouse. Transplanting, I'm transplanting nothing at all for Roots Day because I did those Japanese onions on Monday. Weeding and maintenance, I just keep an eye on my turnips and the radish. I think I've got all of the caterpillars now on the turnips and the radishes. Well, I hope that I have. So I just keep looking at them. They're in my veggie pods, so there's no weeds, but I just keep an eye on them. Keep watering the ginger. Again, I don't think I'll have to water again on Wednesday if I water on Monday. And harvesting really as and when. Tonight I'm making a sofrito, so I harvested some carrots, but it's a good idea to actually harvest them on Roots Day because it does make a difference to the taste. Okay, so Thursday the 2nd and Friday the 3rd of November are flowers days. So what have I got to do? The first thing I want to do is I want to sow my forced Narcissus and Hyacinths. So they are you can buy them in the garden centre, you can buy them online. And what they do is they force them into thinking that they need to flower. It's like they do cold, hot, cold, whatever. I don't know. Mainly cold, I think. They put them into the cold. So I am going to sow those. In November, it's a really good time to sow those, actually. And I'll do a little video of that because I have a little trick about how to keep them nice and stocky. That's all I'm sowing for for my flowers. I'm going to transplant some cauliflowers and some Calabrese into 9 centimeter pots. They got very, very leggy, so I just have to transplant those now. The root systems are quite good with the seedlings, but they are very leggy, so they're going to get transplanted into 9 centimeter pots. Then I'm going to overwinter them as much as possible, and then when I get ground opening up over at the allotment, I will be planting those, because I am harvesting my cauliflowers and my Romanesco. So I'll remind you of that with harvesting. Weeding and maintenance are weeding cauliflowers, weeding the Calabrese, weeding the purple sprouting broccoli. It's all looking pretty good over there. I was over there today and had a look at the allotment, and it's all looking pretty good. So that won't be a big job. Feeding and watering, nothing, no need to at all. If I had those little 9 centimeter pots, I probably would, because they're in the greenhouse. And harvesting, as I said, I'm starting to harvest my cauliflowers. My Romanesco, if you saw in the last video, is bolted, so I'm eating that, and also some Calabrese, the last of this lot of Calabrese. Also, if you want to, on Flowers Day, start pulling up your dahlias, start digging up the tubers. That's a good day to do that as well. So let's go on. We're nearly finished. Saturday, the 4th of November, is Leaves Day. Again, I get very excited because it's one of my favorite days, is Leaves Day. Right. I am sowing more lettuce, and I will be sowing 3 particular varieties. One's called the Grenoble Red, one is the Brighton that I've talked to you before about, that I've got in my hanging baskets, and one is a Cos, but it's called Victorinus, and it grows really well in the cold. So I will be doing another sowing of lettuce. I'm thinking that they might need a little bit of help, so they'll probably come inside and go on the windowsill, but it depends on the weather. Transplant. I've got to get my spinach out into the garden. I lost one tray of spinach. It just looked absolutely terrible. And the next tray is starting to look okay. So that's got to go out in the garden. And also I've got some little lettuce seedlings that need to go into 9 centimeter pots as well. So they get a good root structure before they go in the garden. That's what I'm doing with those. Weeding and maintenance. I've got quite a few beds. I've got a kale bed. Well, I've got quite a few kale beds. I've got one that I have to look at over at the allotment in particular that has my Cavolo Nero on it. I've got to go and do that. I've got to weed the kale bed here, and I'm just going to have a look at my Asian greens, because I'm thinking of changing the top now. I've got them covered in mesh, but I'm going to change it, and I'm going to put some polythene over now. I do not want to lose these Asian greens because they're looking really good. And I'm talking about red pak choi and tatsoi in particular. Feeding, nothing at all, no feeding this time of year. Harvest, again, as and when. I've got some beautiful red cabbage on the allotment to harvest. They're ready. And kale, I'm having that tonight as well. So lots and lots of kale at this time of year. And then Sunday, the 5th of November, it's just as well, it's unfavourable because I'm away. I'm not here. So unfavourable day means put your feet up and watch some telly, or look in your catalogues, your seed catalogues. They're coming through the door thick and fast at the moment through the letterbox. So that is your week. Quite a few different categories to get through. Obviously, you can watch this video again if I talked a little bit too fast. And that's the week. So the weather has calmed down here a little bit. It's not as wet, but it is very, very soggy and boggy. So just be careful where walking, because it's very slippery. And I hope you have a nice gardening week. I will see you again next Sunday, the 5th of November, for your next lot of sowing, transplanting, weeding, maintenance, feeding, watering, and harvesting. They're my categories. Good. I'm Susie B from Susie B Living. thumbs up, that'd be really nice from you all, and subscribe because we will continue growing and sowing and eating. So I'll see you later. Bye.